know I don't usually do reviews on WWE pay-per-views that often, but considering the fact that we're probably going to get another Saudi Arabia event before the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, which could be a possibility or so, considering the fact that Money in the Bank is going to be coming in about a month, which is May 19th, I decided to do an analysis video on Crown Jewel. Yeah, instead of doing a review on reviewing all the matches, I decided to do an analysis on the entire pay-per-view involving Crown Jewel. I probably should have done that with some other material so I don't have to talk to some of the matches that long like I did with WrestleMania 33. But anyway, what can I say about Crown Jewel? As of now, it's going to be the worst pay-per-view of the decade from WWE. Believe me. I mean, the first half of this pay-per-view was pretty decent, but the second half completely destroyed and ruined everything of this entire pay-per-view. Seriously. This pay-per-view is one of the biggest examples that WWE's new era is just like the PG era, just with the brand split. But even that, the brand split is just not the same like it used to due to no brand exclusive pay-per-views. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is because, well, to be quite honest, I really don't think that this pay-per-view will be at least better than the pay-per-view Evolution that came out earlier that week, because Evolution was the pay-per-view that had women wrestlers, and Saudi Arabia laws states that women cannot wrestle in matches. So I think that's probably the biggest difference between Evolution and Crown Jewel. However, the biggest difference I have to say about these two pay-per-views is the booking. Evolution's booking was superior, but Crown Jewel's booking was a disaster of anything that we actually expect from this Saudi Arabia event. For the second time that WWE is going to Saudi Arabia for a house show or pay-per-view, whatever you prefer, this was really not the good way to start. I would easily discuss about what I think about the Greatest Royal Rumble, but in my opinion, they probably wanted to make a first impression involving the Greatest Royal Rumble. In my opinion, the Greatest Royal Rumble was a really good show, but at the same time, during a pay-per-view that came out 9 days from Backlash, I guess it really shows that Backlash is one of the weakest shows, because this completely destroyed most of the hype and made most of the matches really difficult to enjoy. Well, except the first match. But my point is that I think that I really need to discuss of what needs to be said about Saudi Arabia's Crown Jewel event, since we're probably going to get more of these events in the next 9 years of WWE's contract with the Kingdom. First, let me just get this out of the way, and that's the Best in the World tournament. Now, it is understandable that it's not fair to have 8 participants to be in this tournament and just have this tournament go on months ago in order to make this work. But at the same time, I think this is just basically WWE's version of the World Cup. Well, it has one of their wrestlers compete each other in their company, even though that I think that's probably really debatable. And while the trophy doesn't look as good as the Greatest Royal Rumble trophy, I still think that it's still an interesting trophy nonetheless. Anyway, let's get into the matches. And the matches, most of them are good, but most of them are washed. Mainly the Bobby Lashley match, the Bobby Lashley and Seth Rollins match. Now, I would easily complain about this, but when I think of tournaments in pay-per-views, I pretty much knew this was going to happen. I mean, WrestleMania 4 was one of the worst pay-per-views ever, all because of the tournament that just completely had so much going on. And even though I can understand why people really despise that pay-per-view, I at least understand what it means. But unlike that pay-per-view, this match only has 8 wrestlers and not like 16 or more. It's probably a good thing because WrestleMania 4 probably had like 16 wrestlers or so, depending on what they did in the tournament. I think one of the good matches that we got from this tournament was Rey Mysterio versus The Miz and Seth Rollins versus Dolph Ziggler. I mean, I really think that they probably wanted to do the best out of some of the talents who have been mostly relevant in this time during the WWE. They probably wanted to do the best to easily make these wrestlers become top stars in this tournament and try to make everyone in Saudi Arabia really excited to see what they're going to do in this night. Now, I would be complaining about the quality of the matches because of how short and rushed they are, but I think that that's probably the only reason why why this tournament is so rushed when we got to Crown Jewel, because to be honest, they don't have enough time, and the main event is probably the biggest reason onto why most of these matches were rushed. Now, if there's one thing that Crown Jewel does right, is the return of Hulk Hogan. And no, he did not make his return on WrestleMania 35 because that was his second appearance since his first return, which was Crown Jewel. Even though I can really enjoy the fact that he's back and basically the same as ever, and hopefully he doesn't make the same mistakes like he did in 2015. But at the same time, him becoming the host really doesn't make a difference since this is literally the only appearance he has throughout this entire event. It just really makes this appearance well. Excited to see the Hulk show again. Still disappointed that he's not going to be coming back anytime soon in the later time of this pay-per-view. Now, let's get into AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe. Now, due to what happened before Crown Jewel during Saudi Arabia, there was so many changes that involves the WWE Championship match. It was going to be Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles, but due to what happened in the behind the scenes of Crown Jewel, they decided to have Samoa Joe face AJ Styles again. I would be complaining about that, but at the same time, I think that we could have easily have AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan because that would have been the match of the night and probably one of the only saving graces of this pay-per-view. Now, when it comes to AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe, they had like 3 matches before this for the WWE Championship, and with this match being 10 minutes long, it's really obvious that they can't top of what they did before. I mean, I am excited. I am happy that AJ Styles retained his WWE Championship to make it to his 1 year as WWE Championship one. But at the same time, I think that they probably didn't know what to do with the chemistry between AJ Styles and Samoa Joe now. They had this rivalry back before SummerSlam, and they completely culminated in Crown Jewel, which was 3 months long. I think this would have been much more better if AJ Styles faced Daniel Bryan, since it's an actual different opponent, instead of having a match together in the last SmackDown before Crown Jewel. I mean, this match was entertaining, but not as better as the other 3 matches that these two had. And there's also a match that I didn't mention, and that's the SmackDown's Tag Team match. There's only 4 matches in this pay-per-view that doesn't involve the tournament, and these are one of them. I think that this match itself, there's also an entrance when the New Day does a carpet-like entrance, which is a reference of the new Aladdin movie that's going to be coming out this year. It's a really good customized entrance. And as for the match itself, it's just basically what it is. Even though that I don't think that this match should be on the card because of time involving the tournament, but I still think that this match is easily tolerable than the main event. So I really think that this match between the Bar and the New Day is pretty much it's just basically a match that can keep us occupied, and having a break during the tournament determine the best in the world. But then there's the third match, which was Brock Lesnar versus Braun Strowman. Roman Reigns had to relinquish his Universal Championship because he had cancer. And considering the fact that this was weeks before the Crown Jewel event, you would think that there would be some kind of interesting booking involving Braun Strowman since he's been on a wall this year. He completely won the Greatest Royal Rumble and won the Money in the Bank, and also some other things that he completely accomplished. However, this is a night where he gets buried yet again, because if you saw my video of why Brock Lesnar is the worst part-timer of all time, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to find it. Baron Corbin completely attacked Braun Strowman, and then 5 F5s with only one blue pook for Braun Strowman, and the match is officially over. At this point, authority figures is the main reason why this pay-per-view is starting to get really worse. I mean, this is the third to final match of the night, and seeing this right now, I'm just really disgusted at the fact that they had to do this again and ignore the fans. But this is just the beginning of why this made this pay-per-view a disaster. Now, as I mentioned before, Dolph Ziggler and The Miz were the final opponents, was the final people in this tournament, and they're in the finals. Now, I would call this is an interesting idea because these two wrestlers have been in the WWE for about 10 years, and they had matches together even before this. The match at SummerSlam 2014 for the Intercontinental Championship, and no matches in the brand split of SmackDown during 2016 for the Intercontinental Championship. I really kind of like this idea to have these two wrestlers who have been in this company for about 10 years, even if that their heels, would be able to headline this tournament. However, when Miz completely attacked Dolph Ziggler from behind and threw him out of the ring and got out of the ring, he broke his leg. It would have been a forfeit victory for Dolph Ziggler, however, oh my god. Shane McMahon decides to take The Miz's place in order to face Dolph Ziggler for the World Cup, and in less than 3 minutes, Shane McMahon wins. I have no idea where to begin with this. Just because he's a McMahon doesn't mean that he can easily just take someone else's place. I can understand that this is a brand facing each other thing, even though that it won't make a difference as the brand splits pay-per-views have been ended after WrestleMania. But at the same time, I just can't believe this, because this ruined the entire tournament, and this made the entire pay-per-view really difficult for people like me to enjoy. I mean, sure, there's the WWE and SmackDown Tag Team Championships, but my god, just looking at this image right here, I have no idea why they had to do this decision, and they keep showing that Shane McMahon is the best in the world. They even show him having the cup even after WrestleMania, which is so scary to look at. It's just really difficult for me to actually think that this pay-per-view is supposed to be a really grand stage that Michael Cole has said in this show, which isn't the case. I will get on that later, but for right now, let's get into the main event, and that's DX versus the Brothers of Destruction. An interesting dream match that we really want to see from these two teams, but at the same time, way, way, way too late. To the point that I think at this point, having part-timers compete at a tag team match really doesn't even work whatsoever. What makes this even worse is that Shawn Michaels went out of retirement since that he gave his word that he was going to stay in retirement after WrestleMania 26. This is by far one of the biggest problems that Crown Jewel had, is because they wanted to do like a nostalgia act, but at the same time, 8.5 years way too late. And I just cannot believe that Shawn Michaels retired all of this decade and hoping that he can keep his word. But the fact that he came out of retirement just for this one match that is supposed to be the biggest reason in the final step for them to get to the Hall of Fame this year is still really difficult for me to easily see on that's the final step for the faction of DX to get into the Hall of Fame. And as for the match, oh my god. It was 27 minutes long. This was the longest match of the entire show, and it goes to show that these four wrestlers should retire at this point. I mean, I cannot believe that this is pretty much the only reason why I think that Shawn Michaels should have stayed in retirement for the rest of his life after WrestleMania 26, because he really didn't do a lot. There was a lot of pausing, there was a lot of hesitation, and what makes this even worse is that the botches that they did were really difficult to watch. These are even worse than the botches at the Super Showdown event. At least the Super Showdown event, Triple H and Undertaker were the only wrestlers who've been fighting. If it was actually a tag team match, it would probably have the same issues with Crown Jewel had. And I think that with this idea, by having two factions who are way past their prime face each other in a tag team match, which is just there for a nostalgia act, really doesn't even work when these two wrestlers are way too old to be doing this. And I know I was supposed to expect this, but I think that this match was the biggest reason to why The Undertaker should have retired. Believe me, I really thought that after watching WrestleMania 35 and he was not making an appearance, this match right here was the final nail of Undertaker's coffin. And yeah, I did make a pun, I'm just saying. And the fact that we still see him about to probably have a match against Elias at the possible upcoming event of the Saudi Arabia event, but before the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. Why is people still interested to see The Undertaker after all this time? Like, really, what else can he do that he hasn't done yet? I mean, sure, there's Stain, but he's retired, and there's no chance for him to ever come out of retirement because you'll see this match and you'll understand why. And if you're going to talk about the other new wrestlers who are coming out of NXT, that won't work either because it won't make a difference that The Undertaker cannot perform a really good match. It just really makes this really sad to see that of what we've seen from The Undertaker, and after this match expires, I really think that at this point, The Undertaker could have just retired after WrestleMania 28 or WrestleMania 33. And Kane in this match, apparently he's pretty much gone past his prime and should at least retire at this point. I mean, as of now, he hasn't had a match after this match, so I'm really not surprised. And as for Triple H, who is the longest wrestler out of this entire tag team match, he whipped his pectoral muscle. Now, it's really good to see him to finish off the match, but at the same time, at this point, he really needs to retire. I thought that his match against Batista was supposed to be his final match because, well, they had this stipulation of if Triple H loses, he retired, but if Batista wins, then he has to retire. It's basically this. Sorry. It's basically the same plot that he had with Brock Lesnar back in 29 at the same event. But unlike 29, when it's believable that we want to see Triple H continue, since there are some opportunities that he can do for the remainder of his years, I think that this match alone is what he really needs to give up and just retire and just be a writer of the WWE creative team. I mean, the thing is, when I first thought about Batista facing Triple H at WrestleMania 35, easily going to predict that Triple H is going to beat Batista because they did this gimmick of Batista cannot be defeated by Triple H. But on the other hand, I think that what happened during Crown Jewel, I actually hoping that Batista would defeat Triple H just to end his career so he doesn't have to make any more mistakes. I mean, Batista completely retired in in-ring competition the night after WrestleMania. Because with this match alone, Batista doesn't have anything in WWE anymore. Even though there are other dream matches that I want to see from him, you need to understand that this is basically the end of the animal. And I think at this point, it should just be a Hall of Famer. And what Triple H is going to do in the future won't make any difference for his career because after WrestleMania, he got injured again. I'm not making this up. He got injured again, which is the same thing that he got injured at Crown Jewel. So I don't understand why he's continued to wrestle. I mean, the shape that he was in the Crown Jewel wasn't really good, considering the fact that he wasn't preparing for WrestleMania. But when you look at WrestleMania, he was trying his best to be in shape. But at this point, there's really nothing that Triple H can do in his career in WWE. And that was Crown Jewel, the worst pay-per-view of the decade from WWE. I would easily talk about the Brock Lesnar match, but at this point, we pretty much knew that the second reign of terror is over. Hopefully, it will never have another reign of terror. Hopefully not. But the tournament really ruins the entire experience because of the finals match when Shane McMahon just wins everything, all because he wasn't in this tournament. If this is the reason why Raw won a landslide at Survivor Series against SmackDown Live, then I'm not buying it because this is literally the third time Raw has beaten SmackDown. And probably one of the biggest reasons onto why WWE is losing ratings rapidly. They really don't even care that the fans want to see something that they want to see from this company since day one. Since WWE has becoming way more popular and way more better. It's just really hard for me to see of what WWE can do when they keep doing so many mistakes and just doing really difficult booking decisions involving their matches. And Crown Jewel is possibly the worst offenders out of all the pay-per-views I've seen from WWE. Because unlike those pay-per-views when they actually tried, this pay-per-view completely destroyed the purpose of the tournament. The Brock Lesnar winning the championship, winning as a part-timer, and the main event, which was way long overdue, and it was never a long time coming when Shawn Michaels retired at WrestleMania 26. I mean, I think that this pay-per-view is just basically WWE's way of showing Saudi Arabia what they had in the Attitude Era. When I think of these moments here when Brock Lesnar winning the Universal Championship, Shane McMahon winning the Best in the World tournament, and the main event, the Brothers Destruction, I think that WWE is just trying to give Saudi Arabia what they had. The thing is, I think they probably had this idea of going to different kingdoms so they can easily, probably show what they had in the old days. Kind of like a nostalgia act, but at the same time, the Greatest Royal Rumble, they didn't do a nostalgic act. But in Crown Jewel, they decided to do it because they got nothing else better to do. Which makes this really hard for me to easily see that after a pay-per-view that they actually did well despite the randomness, did a pay-per-view with randomness, but with the opposite. And I really think that Crown Jewel could have been much more better if the Brothers' Destruction and DX didn't happen. So more time will be more focused on the Best in the World matches. I would be easily complaining of how this is basically another co-branded pay-per-view, but on the other hand, I think that they probably should make this a SmackDown brand pay-per-view and keep the brand exclusive pay-per-views. In my opinion, the Saudi Arabia contract between WWE is the biggest reason onto why we don't get brand exclusive pay-per-views anymore. But on the other hand, in 2002, WWE had this idea of going to the United Kingdom by having Raw have their own brand exclusive pay-per-view to go to the United Kingdom, and then later that year, SmackDown had Rebellion, and they decided to do the same thing. I know it was a once time in 1 year thing, but it actually worked out. And the brand split, even though that wasn't as good, even though it didn't actually took really full effect after Judgment Day 2003, it at least gave us inspiration that this could have been a good idea for what WWE can do for the Saudi Arabia event, since just by looking at 2018, there's probably going to be 2 Saudi Arabia events in 1 year, which means there will probably be 18 more events in the next coming years. But the fact that they decided to make this co-branded, I think that the brand split at this point is not like it used to. I mean, when it comes to the co-brand stuff in 2007, it was understandable because they had ECW, but here, my god, I just wish that the brand could, I just wish that the brand exclusive pay-per-views would continue on for about another 3 years or so, kind of like the 2002 through 2007 one, because I really enjoy that concept a lot. But with this being the major reasons that we don't get co-branded that we get co-branded pay-per-views now, I'm extremely disappointed. I really am. This video has been going on for way too long, but the aftermath of the show really didn't make much of a difference, because after the match between DX and the Brothers of Destruction, it's completely gone, and it's really sad that The Undertaker is still possibly wrestling after this. And the fact that he's going to have a new contract with WWE, I just don't know what's going to happen next. I just don't. This pay-per-view is the prime example of why wrestlers who are part-timers shouldn't wrestle anymore, because they can't be able to do the same like they used to. WWE just doesn't care about anyone but themselves and think that they're good at everything, even though that they can't even bother to make some changes in the company, because they're having other wrestling promotions who are soon to get TV deals about to completely who's about to completely take down the company if they don't react fast enough. At this point, I just think that just thinking about this pay-per-view alone, there's really nothing that needs to be said as of now. It's still the latest Saudi Arabia event, but hopefully in the next Saudi Arabia event, it would never, ever, 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 ever be the same. We just hope that it would never be the same as Crown Jewel. Let's just hope that that's a possibility, that Crown Jewel will never be like... let's just hope that we don't get another Crown Jewel event like this anytime soon. Anyway, I'm only Fanboy Fully here, and I'll see you at the end of this month when I create my schedule. Well, first I have to do one more video, but I've already finished doing that. But anyway, see you later.